Hello everyone, this is Denjikun, aka RickandFighters510, and today we have a very different kind of video for you today. So, in honor and celebration of me completing the Batman, the Telltale series, and the Batman, The Enemy Within, I will be going over every single episode, episode 1 all the way to episode 10, and giving down a fine analysis and breakdown of every single chapter, episode. And I will be going over all the major decisions that I have made in those episodes. So if you would like to copy exactly what I did, or completely do the opposite, or if you're just curious just to know, then please go ahead and watch this video. And if you do not want any spoilers, if you're new to the game, or if you want to play, then I advise you to not watch this video, because there will be spoilers to what happens in the game. So now that we covered that, let's go ahead and let's go. Alright, so we got our first episode here, episode 1, The Realm of Shadows. Bruce Wayne navigates the treacherous waters of Gotham. Politics as a series of shocking allegations surface, while Batman confronts Gotham's most notorious crime boss. Now, we later learn that this will be Falcone, and I gotta say, for a very first episode, it was not bad at all. It wasn't like one of the other episodes, but it wasn't bad. For the first episode, it was not bad at all. I did like how it kind of went from the roots of talking about who is Bruce Wayne, and we kind of learned about our backstory a bit. We eventually would later find out that our father, Thomas Wayne, and Falcone were working together, and they were doing a whole bunch of operations with the city, and even some allegations with I'm sorry, not allegations, relations with Mayor Hill and Arkham, and we were just dumbfounded. We didn't find all of this out in the first episode, but we would later find out. So this episode was the kind of the stepping stone, the foundation to everything that would come out and later to play. This is the most important episode because it lays the foundation steps. I did like it, and honestly, it just wanted me to just wait for more, honestly. So let's go ahead and check out the choices I made for episode 1, The Realm of Shadows. Alright everyone, so in the very beginning, the first major choice we had was, did you stick up for Harvey in front of Falcone? You and 32.9% of players shut Harvey out in the private meeting room with Falcone. Now, I wasn't exactly sure what Falcone was going to say to me. Again, when you start off a new game, you're still kind of unsure of who is who. I'm not saying I didn't know who Falcone was. I knew he wasn't really a great guy, but I just still wanted to hear him out. You know, I just wanted to give him some privacy as well. And if anything was to happen, I didn't want Harvey Dent to potentially get hurt. You know, because I knew Falcone had like guards in this room. I'm not saying, you know, it'll be bad, but you never knew. I just wanted to take precautions. You know, it would have been wise to keep him in the room, but I didn't. I told Harvey to basically kick it, leave the room, basically. But yeah, I wasn't sure. There's not really much to this decision. That's just all I have to say. And next up we have, did you provide a quote for Vicky's story? Now, I was still kind of unsure of Vicky Vale, because she was kind of, you know, this typical reporter who wanted to be in everybody's business, and I didn't exactly know what she wanted. But she just wanted to report. She wanted something from Bruce Wayne, and I wasn't planning on it, but I eventually gave something, and you and 55.4% of players chose to control the emerging Wayne story and provided Vicky with the quote. To me, this was an accident. I should have never gave in, because later we will find out who actually is Vicky Vale. If you are watching, and if you still don't want spoilers, even though I told you to basically go away, I won't spoil it yet, but you'll see. You already know who it is. You already know who Vicky Vale actually is. But I was completely absurded by her level of wanting to just... She didn't have no limits at all. That's the thing about Vicky Vale. She had no boundaries at all. She wanted to get an answer from Bruce Wayne, and later Batman. She was very good at it too, I'm not gonna lie. Very good. Very persuasive. Let's see, next choice was, did you break the dog's shooting arm? Now, you and 48.7% of players brutally broke the dog's shooting arm, ensuring that he never hold a gun straight again. Now, this is one of those decisions, early game decisions, that I do regret doing. I advise you not to do it. It looks like it's kind of like a split here on the community, almost a 50-50. I recommend not doing it, because the people will eventually see this, and they will say that oh, the Batman likes to do violence, and that's not what I wanted. I just wanted him to basically suffer and pay for what he did, because he just killed a bunch of cops. The least I can do is break his arm. But apparently if you do that, the whole city goes wild and starts blaming you. So if you want to have a clean run through, I advise you to not break his arm. But if you want real justice to be served, do what I did, break his arm. That's real justice in my opinion. Next question. Who did you give the Falcone data to? You and 72.4% of players gave the Falcone data to Lieutenant Gordon instead of making the information public through Vicky Vale. Now, Vicky Vale, I still didn't like her anyway. I never liked it from the beginning, and I never did in the end. Commissioner Gordon is somebody I knew for a fact I wanted to have on my side. From the very beginning all the way to the end, I made sure to do and please Commissioner Gordon because I wanted him on my side. Not as a pawn, but as a best friend, because I knew for a fact he can cover me if it ever came down to it. And he's someone who is he's very lawful good. Lawful neutral sometimes, but he's mainly lawful good. If you don't know, that's like a D&D alignment. He's lawful good, which means he will do the law and protect the law at all means necessary. And I think he will do bad things to protect this. I think that's why he's lawful neutral. But no, getting besides the point. Obviously, we got the majority here. A lot of people agreed with me on this, and I appreciate doing that decision. Let's see. How did Batman deal with Falcone at the end? You and 82% of players showed restraint and handed Falcone over to the police safe and sound. Now, this decision I regret as well, because on the news, they kind of do this thing on the media where they're like, oh, you like to beat up like small town crooks and break their arms, but when it's big crime bosses, you're like, you know, resistant. And that gives off a message that I didn't actually think through. I didn't actually think that through at all until I realized at the end of the game, I was like, oh my god, people thought the Batman was, you know, bowing down to crime lords, but not normal punks. And you know what I mean? Like you know, it basically gives off this vibe of, does the Batman actually care who they're fighting? You know, it basically bringing up the question, is the Batman biased? And I was not biased. I just didn't do it because you know, I got the backlash of people seeing me being brutal, and I didn't want that to happen again. But I probably should have with Falcone, because he definitely did deserve it. That was my mistake. I wish I can undo this. And that is basically the summary of everything I did in episode 1. So there you go. For the most part, let's see. Out of 5 choices, I got 32, 85, 48, 72, 82. For the most part, I got 3 out of 5, majority. So most people did what I did in episode 1. Not a shocker. Nothing crazily interesting on this episode. Alright, and I will see you for episode 2. Alright, so we got episode 2 here, Children of Arkham. An old friend becomes a new adversary as Bruce learns more about the Wayne family legacy, and Batman escalates the fight against crime and corruption throughout Gotham. So, in this episode, our good boy, Oswald Cobblepot, he comes out, and he basically introduces himself to his childhood friend, Bruce Wayne. And, you know, they kind of say hi to each other, blah, 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 and then he tells us that he wants to start this movement, he wants to start this grand revolution that will change the world. And he hints at the fact that we're going to strike hard at basically my family. He's going to strike hard at the Wayne family. But he doesn't become aggressive about it. He's just going to do it if Wayne likes it or not. And off the bat, we take that as a threat. And this becomes a problem later on. And regardless what happens to Penguin, whatever his ending result may be, the Penguin did succeed though. He was the face of revolution, and he sparked many other criminals that were stronger than him. He wasn't the strongest villain, but he definitely was the most inspirational one to come about, and that's for a fact. So let's go ahead and check our choices and how we handled this episode. Alright, so the beginning of episode 2, this is the first question. Did you ease Falcone's pain or make him suffer? You and 70.4% of players eased Falcone's pain with morphine. Now, I really did not want anyone to die on my watch. That is something that I want to uphold. That is my code. That was a reason. Another reason was he was spilling out information about my father, Thomas Wayne, and I wanted to learn more about him, and who wouldn't want to know? I needed to know everything. He was involved with my father. I need to know what he did, because obviously my parents didn't teach me because they're dead. Obviously they were all involved in some crime group, and they all killed each other off. Not directly, but they basically all did, and they all suffered. Everybody suffered. And in this episode, Falcone does not make it because of it. He gets his punishment for sure. He gets what was coming to, what has meant to be coming to him for a long time. The revenge. Justice. Real justice. He died. But he was drugged though. Well, but Falcone got what he deserved though. Sadly. Sadly, we didn't get to hear everything that he was going to say because he was shot by Montoya. Let's see. Did you kiss Selena? You and 78.5% of players tried to kiss Selena. Now, hold on there. Hold on. Now, I already know that Jay Alexis and Boom Boom are going to be like, oh my god, see, I told you. No, I never denied that I didn't do this. I know I did this. But it was what you guys were saying that I did later. And I did not smash the cat, if you're thinking that, okay? No smashing cats around here. But yeah, I leaned in for a kiss because why not? We just got out of an amazing bar fight, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty badass. I ain't gonna lie. And I was like, oh, this is the perfect moment to do it. And I thought she was inviting, but she said no. But I think she did like the gesture. And most people agreed with me. Look at that. Most people did the same. Of course, you had to. Next question. Next choice, I should say. Did you visit Mayor Hill as Bruce or Batman? You and 42.7% of players chose to visit Mayor Hill as Batman. Now, the reason why I chose Batman was because if I went in as Bruce Wayne, Mayor Hill would just see me as another version of his father, Thomas Wayne. Like, oh, look, the sun doesn't, fall too far down from the tree. I believe that's the saying. Basically, Thomas did the same thing with Hill. And now Bruce does it, he's following in his footsteps. And I didn't want him to get any ideas or, try to arrest me or get me caught in 4K. I didn't want Mayor Hill to do that. And I was pretty smart about it. I was like, you know what? The Batman would be able to get through Mayor Hill and be the most convincing tool ever. I had to be smart about this. And honestly, I think it was a good idea because I got what I wanted in the end. And there wasn't many repercussions about this because nobody knew who the Batman was. They could just say, oh, the Batman interrogated Mayor Hill, but who was the Batman? Nobody knew at the time. So I think it was the best decision. I was gonna say it was a 50-50, but I mean it's close, but slightly not really. Okay, let's go ahead and check out the next one. Did you withdraw your funding for Harvey's campaign? You and 91.2% of players continue to fund Harvey's campaign. Why did we do this? We wanted to fund Harvey's campaign because we believed Harvey Dent, the district attorney in Gotham, could be the best solution Gotham has at mayor. We knew Mayor Hill was corrupt, but nobody did anything about it. And there was this new upcoming election, and we knew Harvey Dent and his charming complexion, we knew he would be the man to serve for justice because that's all he talked about. And my God, did I believe him. And even just falling off Batman lore, I knew he would be the best for it. And I believed in him. I wanted to believe him. And I wanted to see what would happen if he would win. I honestly did. Harvey was a good friend at this point. We were building up a good relationship. And I wanted to see him win. And I wanted to use my resources to fund his campaign. And let's be honest, that's not corrupt. Every single politician has someone funding them. It's just natural. It always happens. It's not anything bad. There's always somebody who's your sponsor, basically. So I agreed with doing this. But if I ever do a run through of this game again, I might choose to do the opposite. I want to see what happens. Let's see. Did you save Selena or Harvey? Now, this is probably one of the more first serious decisions that came about. You and 37.9% of players saved Harvey over Selena. Now, this is how I looked at it. I looked at the magnitude of their lives. Basically, I looked at the importance of their lives. I know that's kind of, not right, not a good thing to do, but when it came down to it, I had to choose. Who could potentially die? Would I rather save a politician who could save the world, or would I rather just save a good best friend who is a thief? Now, I had nothing against Selena, I don't. I really don't. But if I didn't save Harvey Dent, then the world can just go down in flames with Mayor Hill, and he won't be stopped. And I was like, I need to save Harvey. I have to save Harvey. And I better hope that this will be some kind of inspirational power that will get him to, be a leader after seeing what happened. And I believed by saving him would do good. And I was somewhat right. I wasn't fully right in the end, but I was somewhat right. I wasn't wrong. Next time I'll choose Selena. I want to see what happens. But yeah, I don't regret doing this. It's just some things happen later that kind of mess us all up. But you'll see for yourself. And this is basically the summary of this chapter. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decisions, 70%, 78%, 42%, 91%, and 37%. Again, we got the majority, like most people do, and the minority was visit Mayor Hill as Batman and save Selena. And not to save Selena, and to save Harvey over Selena. Those are the only unique decisions that we did, but nothing really too crazy for this episode. So stay tuned, and I'll see you for episode 3. Alright folks, so we're on episode 3, The New World Order. With Gotham on the brink and Bruce under fire, a new generation of supervillains rise to prominence and threaten to overturn the traditional institutions of power. Now this is where things get very stinky and very risky, I should say. So we have Harvey Dent, who just survived an attack from the Penguin, who now starts to become very on like a power surge in a way, and he wants to make sure that Gotham is safe, and he eventually makes his own private militia that does not work and actually does more harm than good. So we have this power-hungry maniac mayor, which used to be, you know, District Attorney Harvey Dent, to now this crazy madman Harvey Dent, who we would later find out he would turn into Two-Face. But so we have that. We have a very fascist kind of group, which is Harvey Dent and his militia, private militia, I remind you. And we have, on the entire side of the other spectrum, we have this revolutionary Oswald Cobblepot Penguin, who then secures his rightful place at Wayne Enterprises, and he takes control. And he uses his influence to fund many, many bad things. But he upholds a face of good, just like how Batman does, except Batman does good, except not you know, bad. Batman does good, except Penguin does bad in the face of good, but Batman does good in the face of good. That's what I meant to say. Kind of complicated that. But let's go ahead and check out our main choices for this episode. Alright, so at the very beginning of New World Order, we have this decision: did you help Montoya or Mayor Dent? You, with 60.8% of players, chose to back up Montoya and let Harvey face danger alone. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was a button slip. I honestly meant to press Harvey Dent, but I pressed Montoya. That is my honest truth. I did not want to help Montoya, I really don't, but we would later find out that she did save me, so I'm kind of glad that I did. I didn't want to. I originally wanted to save Harvey Dent. So next time I do this, I'm definitely making sure I press the right button. For sure. I'm pressing Harvey Dent next time. And next up on our choice was, did you punch Oswald? You and 32% of players were provoked into striking Oswald. Now, I know he was trying to get in my head. He was. We gotta realize something. Oswald the Penguin was inside of our office, taking control of Wayne Enterprises right from our hands. And there was nothing that I could have done about it. So what could I have done? Just leave and peacefully just walk out? No, I knew who this man was, and I was not going to let him take control and have such power. That kind of power should not be in his hands, and I knew that. So there was nothing I could have done except punch him. That was the best thing that I could have done, in my opinion. I stand by this. I will not change it. If I get this opportunity again, I'm doing it. And I recommend you guys do it too, because he's a scrounge. He's sneaky. He's a little devil. He thinks he could just take this empire from me. No. He just signed his death warrant. He made it personal. He did. But he's just the beginning, and he was right. He did tell us that, and he was for sure right. Alright, next up we got next decision. Did you ask Lucius to stay at Wayne Enterprises or come work for you? You and 34.6% of players had Lucius quit and work full time for Batman. Now, later I would think, oh, it would have been smart for me to have Lucius, you know, in Wayne Enterprises so he can spy on Penguin, but I was like, I don't want to jeopardize his life. It would be too much. I would rather be a couple steps behind if I knew he was still going to be on my team. And Lucius's family, Lucius Fox basically raised me as well as Alfred Pennyworth. So I needed them to be as close to me as I possibly can in these dark times, and I wanted him to be on my side. So I stand by this decision as well. It would have been helpful for him to be there as like a secret operative, but I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to risk his life. His life was way too important for me to do that, to put him in danger like that. Next up, we have next option. Did you romance Selena? You and 9.6% of players chose to maintain a platonic relationship with Selena. Now, Spooky Boom and Jay Alexis, if you guys see this right now, this is 100% proof that I did not do the boom boom with the cat. I promise you that. There was no sleeping, there was no slapping, and there was no scratching. I promise you. Look, 90.4% of players simped. They simped so hard for the cat. It's fine though, I understand. I don't blame them. Selena, oh my god. I would have done it, but you know what? I'm a man of my word and I'm on a mission to save Gotham. I'm not here to play around with cats. And knit balls? What were the things they call midden balls? You know the cats, oh, ball of yarn, that's what they are. Yeah. Balls of yarn, that's what cats play. Anyways, what was I talking about? No. I don't want to do that. I have to save the world, okay? Okay, next up. Let's see. Did you beat up Harvey or take it easy on him? You and 84.7% of players refused to physically attack Harvey. I did not want to attack him. First of all, he's a strong person, but not like I can't take him. I didn't want to attack him because to me he was actually a friend, and I wanted to maintain our friendship as much as I could. And I knew the circumstances looked bad, and I believed that, but I wanted to make sure he was calm and to know that he's not my enemy. And he eventually did get the message. It just took him a while to realize that. And right here we see him kind of turning. We see the stress of him being mayor starting to crumble. We see it start to fall on Harvey's career. We see it because this is too much to handle. The crime of Gotham is being the mayor of that city is horrible, and we see it take a toll on our good boy, Mr. Dennis. Okay, so this is the majority decisions that I did. Well, these are, well, I didn't even get to look at it, actually. I can't even say that. So let's see, 60%, 30%, 32%, 34%, 9%, 84%. We have 3 decisions. One of them is a 9%, which is really low. We have 3 decisions that are in the minority, 2 in the majority. That means this one was the very first unique episode where we chose the less chosen ones, the less chosen answers. So this has been my choices for episode 3. Alright, so we're on episode 4 now, the Guardian of Gotham. Bruce and Batman must forge new alliances and fight old rivals to protect the innocent and keep Gotham from descending into chaos. Now this is where things get very stinky. We have the rise of the revolution of Penguin, and we have the march of madness from the militia of Harvey Dent, and things are just starting to become chaotic. And the world is kind of falling apart at this point. I would say this is probably the more scary episodes that we have ever endured. But don't worry, there will be much more worse ones later on. I promise you that. But things got very tense in this episode. So let's go ahead and check my choices. Alright, starting off for our very first major decision. Did you promise Joker a favor? You and 49.5% of players agreed to owe Joker a favor after being released from Arkham. Now, as you can see, it's a very 50-50 here. I didn't know what to do. This man was trying to help me. By the way, I got sent to Arkham Asylum after episode 3 because apparently after punching Penguin, people thought I was deranged and crazy. So they sent me here. And by the way, this is probably the earliest we ever seen a potential foe way before we actually fight them. This is episode 4 of the Telltale series. This is not even an enemy within. The enemy within, we have a grand old time with Joker. But this is the very first time we actually have an encounter with him, and this is kind of bizarre to me. That's all. I was like, wow, we're really seeing him this early in the game, and I was kind of excited by it too. It's a great way to get the player wanting the next game for sure. That was a great way to get this engaged. Next decision. Did you go along with Joker's plan? You and 68.8% of players chose to follow Joker's advice and make a phone call out to Arkham. Now, I had to make a difficult choice. What do I do? Do I make a phone call and go out and, do what Batman does and basically fix the world because it's chaotic right now, or do I just sit here, waste away, and let the world basically burn? It was hard, and I chose to get out of Arkham Asylum, and I kind of regret doing this one. At the time, I could see why I chose to basically get bribed out, you know, to have someone post my bail, which was Alfred. I can see why I did that at the time, but looking back, I probably just should have just served my time, because something I was gonna get out eventually, right? I probably should have just waited in there, honestly. But I didn't want to be there anymore. I had to get out. And after me getting out, people seen that and they were like, "Oh, look at this millionaire who, you know, bought his way out of Arkham Asylum. You don't just normally do that." And that did not go well for Bruce Wayne at all. This was probably one of the worst episodes for Bruce Wayne. It was a horrible way to start this episode. Oh my god. The ending of episode 3 was the reason why episode 4 is like this. And it was kind of bizarre. Kind of difficult, if you ask me. Next choice. How did you get past the Enforcer barricade? You and 48.8% of players rammed the security checkpoint. Now, this is another 50-50. I believed we didn't have a choice. There was no. What were we supposed to do? We were blocked by Harvey's militia. We were stuck and nowhere to go. We only had two choices. It's either bribe the security guards or ram the barricade. And if they seen us trying to bribe them, they would probably blast us away because they're trying to stop people like us. So we had no other choice. It's either bribe them and prove to all the guards that what Harvey's saying is true, which it isn't. And by the way, Harvey's going a little hysterical. By the time we're in Arkham, he's starting to be a little mad with power, just a little bit. And, you know, what we're supposed to do, just let this happen? Or let's just go out and just escape and figure out a plan. We had to escape. I didn't want to endanger Alfred's life anyway. It would have been too much. Let's see. Did you deal with Harvey as Bruce or Batman? You and 56.1% of players chose to intimidate Harvey as Batman instead of risking his wrath as Bruce. He was already mad at Bruce, and as we learned from Mayor Hill, it worked. So I was like, okay, Batman might work again. And maybe this will give Harvey Dent some light. If he can see the Batman and hear what he says, maybe he'll believe us, because he will for sure not believe what we have to say. He will not want to hear us at all. He will not want to hear us out. So I was like, you know what? Batman might be our only option here to get through. Has to be. And it's almost a 50-50, but not really. It's close, though. Let's see. Did you stop Harvey or Oswald? Now, this was a hard decision again. You and 54.4% of players chose to stop Oswald from destroying your tech and risk Harvey destroying your home. Now, this is what makes you think what's more important, saving the world or protecting your loved ones. And when I say loved ones, I mean Alfred in particular. I had a choice. One of these people were going to attack me somehow. Oswald Cobblepot was going to attack Wayne Enterprises and release a virus onto the world, well, a computer virus, and attack everything. Or do I stop Harvey Dent from blowing up my manor and attacking and raiding her? I was like, there's no clear answer here. There's no clear way, because something bad is going to happen. The smartest thing I could have done, though, is stop the Penguin, because if I can stop him, he will not be able to access the tech, and he will not be able to control people's devices. And to me, that was more important. And I stand by on this decision. This, to me, this was the smartest decision. One of the more smarter decisions I've done. Sorry, that was kind of a tongue twister there. Okay, next one. Alright, so, see, so, as you can see, these are the results for episode 4. You and 49.5% of players agreed to Joker. Okay, so that's a minority, barely though. You and 60.8% of players wanted bail. 48.8% of players ran the barricade. 56.1% of players intimidated Harvey's Batman, and 54.4% of players stopped the Penguin. Now, as you can see for this episode, it's a very 50-50. Almost as if it's like Two-Face himself flipping his coin. Because that's how close it was. It was very close. So we get the minority with 49, majority with 68, minority with 48, majority with 56, and majority with 54. It's majority vote for this episode 4, but it was barely close. Kind of like a coin. And finally, episode 5, The City of Light. The battle for control of Gotham intensifies, reaching a fever pitch as Bruce discovers a renewed sense of purpose, and Batman finds himself pushed to the limits in a desperate effort to restore order. This episode is really what shows the character and the light in Gotham, the City of Light. In darkness there is light, and we've seen that. Throughout all the trouble that we've been through, there is hope and damn did we know how to manifest that. It was a good episode. So let's go ahead and check out our choices. Alright, so for the very beginning of episode 5, we have, what did you do with Harvey's coin? You and 44.7% of players threw Harvey's coin over the balcony. Now at this point, we confronted Harvey Dent at our mansion, and as we can see, he has a couple hostages held, and things are not looking so good. And in our attempts to calm him down, we finally get a chance to snag his coin, and I wanted to throw it. I didn't want to give it back to him. If I threw it, I knew for a fact that's the point of weakness I could get him to basically surrender, because I knew Harvey's dependency on that coin. If he's seen that coin thrown out, it was a gamble. I was gambling basically. I was rolling the dice. If I threw that coin, he could easily shot us off, because that would have made him mad. But in my mind, I was like, if I throw this coin, he might go after it, or he might get confused, or he might not know what to do, because that was his determining factor on this little crusade. He flips a coin, heads, you know, he spares a life, tails, he kills that life. That's important. You don't just throw that away. And me throwing it away, I witnessed Harvey go berserk, and he chased that coin like no other. And it was almost a 50-50, but not really. But I can see 44% of players agree with me on this as well. Let's see. For the next choice, did you blame Alfred for his involvement with Thomas Wayne? You and 27.7% of players told Alfred it didn't matter who was at fault. All that matters is fixing the problem. Now, I did know, we would later find out that Alfred actually had ties with, well, not directly Falcone, but he did serve for Falcone in a way. He you know, under the wing of Thomas Wayne, he was a part of it. He was, he had affiliations with this crime organization, and Alfred was guilty, and we learned that. And I was like, you know what? Do I really need to blame him, you know, for what has done? All I told him, look, it doesn't matter who did it. We could fix it, though. You know, and I was kind of disappointed when I found that out, but I'm glad that he finally told me. He was man enough to tell me this. And I wanted to reassure him that it was okay. We're past that. As long as we change from now on, we'll be better. And besides, this man is basically my father figure. He was my role model. How can I can't do this man wrong at all. I cannot. I owe him my life, because he wasted his life taking care of me. Not wasted, but, you know, he spent most of his life raising me. So the least I can do is spare his life. That's the least I can do. Let's see, 2.3% of players blamed Alfred for not doing enough to stop the Thomas Wayne. Now, I can see why they would, because Alfred was there the entire time and he let this happen. So blaming maybe is something he could have heard, maybe something that he should have heard, but I didn't want to blame him, because, you know, you can't really blame somebody for something that happened like over decades ago. You can't. You really can't. That's the path. People move on, honestly. 67.9% of players comforted Alfred that he wasn't to blame. Now, I didn't want to comfort him because he is to blame. I just didn't want to blame him entirely, but I didn't want to be like, oh, it's okay. It's not okay. But it doesn't matter, though. We'll fix it. We'll work towards it. And 2.1% of players did not respond as Alfred blamed himself. Now, those people, I can understand these people as well. They didn't want to say anything. They wanted Alfred to fully express how he felt. And anything that he says about himself, let him basically swallow it down with pride and take it down, because that's what he did. Those are his thoughts. So by remaining silent, you were just like, okay, he is expressing what he has done, and this is how he's looking back, reflecting. Let him do it. Don't say anything on it. Let him hear himself. Basically, that was the mentality. I probably would have done this one. I wouldn't have blamed him like the 2.3, or I wouldn't have comforted him like the 67.9. I would have either done 27.7 or the 20 or the 2.1. I would have done either of those, but I chose to say let's fix it, because that's why I want to do. I'm here to fix it. Everything that Thomas Wayne has ever done. Oh, and one of the bigger decisions I've done was, how did you respond to Selena? You and 8.7% of players deem Selena as nothing more than a thief. Now, this is a decision I regret saying, because she is more than a thief. She has done a lot of things for me, and for me to treat her this way, I don't think I meant to come off this way. I came off very cold-hearted. I didn't want like I didn't want a romantic relationship with her. I did not want that. But it came off that way. It really did. And well, to me at the time, it came off like, oh, do I care? Do I have feelings for her like that? I said no. Because I meant I didn't have feelings for her that way, but she could have stuck around as a friend or something, and we could have fought crime together. But I basically told her, she's nothing but a thief, so get out of town. I basically told her that. And after I realized that, I was like, oh, don't do that, because that actually does hurt you later on with your relationship with her. It does. This one's if you want to have a good relationship with Catwoman, you have to just not call her a thief. And 91.3% of players agree with me on that. So yeah, I regret doing this one. Let's see, did you take off the cowl? You and 26.9% of players kept the cowl on and protected your identity. Now, I know this was like risky, very risky, but I believed if I removed my cowl, she would somehow get away and tell everybody. And I was like, you know what? I cannot allow this crazy, leader. Oh, by the way, this is Lady Arkham, by the way. This is who I was talking about. This is Vicky Vale, but a more deranged version of her. This is the version that, well, she's not completely crazy because she does have a story about how her parents were killed by the hands of Thomas Wayne, something Arkham. Their last name is Arkham. And, it was their fault, blah, 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 and blaming my family. So this was kind of personal for Wayne. This was personal. And she was trying to get justice, working with Penguin at the same time, trying to start this revolution to take down Wayne Enterprises. Or this revolution of inspiring people who were affected by Arkham Asylum and Thomas Wayne. And basically let them run loose and get their revenge. And this... Look, I get Thomas Wayne did a bad thing, I get that, but by murdering people and taking over the world is not a good way to solve this problem. And she had to be stopped, and Penguin as well. And I could not just let this happen. I risked Alfred's life, though I did. Did you attend Gordon's address as Bruce or Batman? You and 61.6% of players showed up to Gordon's address as Bruce. I probably should have showed up as Batman, but hear me out. I chose Bruce because I wanted the people to know that I am looking out for them. Even if the press says something else, I am trying to, fix the world, to basically get rid of every single thing that my father has done. I want to basically fix Gotham. I do. It was, as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, we are one. And we want to do the same exact thing. Batman's just more works in the shadows kind of thing. That's it. But Bruce Wayne wants to make the world a better place. He really does. And I was like, you know what? This is the best way to fix my company. This is the best way to take everything back. Besides, Batman has already done a good job, and nobody has speculated that Batman too much. I could fix my name as Bruce Wayne. Why do a super good job as Batman when you could do a good job as Batman and a good job as Bruce? And double power, horsepower, double power, horsepower. I don't even know. Those are words I was going for, but I don't. But you guys get the idea. And this is the end. Alright, so these are the end choices for episode 5. So you and 44.7% of players threw the coin. You and 27.7% of players told Alfred it didn't matter who it was. You and 8.7% of players, this one was a low one again, deemed Selina as nothing more than a thief. I regret doing this one. You and 26.9% of players kept the cowl on. And you and 61.6% of players addressed the thing with Gordon as Bruce. Now, it's obvious I did a 4 out of 5 minority let's play, just like how I did, I believe, episode 3, I believe. So yeah, so this has been Batman, the Telltale series. These have been all my decisions. If you like to do the playthrough that I've done, then please go ahead and copy these or spice it up if you want. I recommend being more nicer to Catwoman in this one. Don't put everything into Harvey, because he does lose his mind a bit. And realize, when you're playing as Batman, realize what the people see as well. That's my advice for this game. But I will be moving on to the Enemy Within, so thank you for watching this part of the video, and I will see you in a second. Bye.